Hello everyone, good evening. As you can see, I'm still dressed up sitting on my bed. Still dressed up sitting on my bed. I just came back from a meeting and I said, let me do this very short video. So today what I want to talk about is still a very, very important topic. And we, especially those of us who live in the diaspora, we do not want to talk about it until it's almost too late. And that is the question of, when I die, where do I want to be buried? Okay. Do I want to be taken back home to Nigeria? Or do I want to be buried here in the UK, US, wherever you are living? And the reason this question has come up is that I'm now almost going to the 8th month of my husband's death. And these questions, I've started really thinking about this question. And it occurred to me that a lot of us do not make it clear to our family where we want to be buried. However, in the case of my husband is buried in Nigeria. Okay, he was buried on the 3rd of May of this year, so he died in February, and we buried him in Nigeria on the 3rd of May. And the reason we buried him in Nigeria, it just came by chance. One day my youngest son was, maybe a year ago, my youngest son was chatting to my husband and I. And then he just suddenly said, oh yeah, Dad, when you die, where do you want to be buried? Do you want to be buried here in the UK or do you want to be buried at home? And my husband didn't say anything. But the look he gave my son was, well, that's a stupid question. So my son then said, oh, okay, Dad, yeah, all right. You want to be buried in Nigeria. So that's how we knew. He didn't actually say it. And he didn't dispute, he didn't say anything. So we took from his look that he wanted us to bury him in Nigeria. So after that, my son said to me, Mommy, what about you? And my own was quite a conversation. My own question that my son, my last child, who is actually 31, asked me was, Mom, what about you? And then I said, look, when I die, I want to be buried here. I want to be buried in UK, in London. And he asked me why I would like to be buried in the UK. And I told him, look, I want you guys to, if you're missing me, you can drive maybe an hour or wherever and come and lay flowers, or you can come and talk to me. You don't have to go on the plane, spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds and then go home and then come to see me for maybe 2 weeks and then come back. If you bury me in London, it will be easier for you guys to come and see me. So all the while I was thinking about my children, and unbeknown to me, my son said, okay, Mom, if that's what you want. And then he took that information to his siblings, to his older siblings. And what came back was quite revealing, because 3 of my children, especially my daughter and my first son, told me categorically, Mommy, there's no way you're going to be buried here. there's no way we will bury you here, because one, we know you love Nigeria. We know that, and they just will not entertain it. And here was I thinking that I was, that this is what they would want. So in the end, I said, look, when I'm dead, I would like you people to bury me here for this reason. And they said, Mom, no, it's not going to happen. We're going to take you home. And then after that conversation, I decided to tell my siblings. I called one of my not my youngest, second to the youngest one, and told him. I also told my immediate junior brother that if I die, this is where I would like to be buried here, because I wanted to know what they thought. And oh my God, this set off another discussion. And my junior brother told me, do you know, sister, that if you are buried in the UK, you have closed off your lineage, you have closed off your generation upon generation. That means your own children, may not even come. They will not even come to see you, to connect. And he went deeper. He was so distressed. He spoke to me for such a long time. And then after that discussion, I also spoke to my sister. My sister has categorically said that she wants to be buried in the US. And I think her children will do that for her. But so you can see the difference, that my own children said, Mommy, there is no way on this God's earth we're going to bury you in London. Or Dad, no way. It's just not going to happen. And they said, no, we're not. Mommy, you didn't. My son said, my daughter said, Mommy, you didn't birth stupid people. I said, no, but it has nothing to do with stupidity. I'm just trying to think. But the most, I think what we as parents, it's no use not talking about it. Especially when you get to my age, 60s, going on and on. We need to start talking about what will happen to us when we're no longer here. And we have to make it very clear. It has to be a dialogue between our children and ourselves. Because sometimes it is when you are alive that you make these plans. I don't think I'm going to die tomorrow, but who knows when they will die? I might live until I'm 90, I might live until I'm 100, but I might not wake up tomorrow. But my children are in no now. My children and I have now agreed that I will go with their wishes, which is when I die, they would like to take me to Nigeria. Okay? So, whatever decision you make your decision. Talk it over with your family. Talk it over with your family. And decide when you want to be buried. The other thing is that you have to also decide not only the country where you're buried, when you agree where you're going to be buried, especially if you're going to be buried, if you agree that you're going to be taken home, your children want to take you home, you have to then agree the specific spot. Because in my culture, when a woman dies, they are supposed to be buried in their kitchen, because a kitchen is seen as where a woman nurtures the family. Some is respectful. Some see it as, oh, the kitchen. No. is a way of saying that this woman is the head of this family, feeding everything to do with the nurturing of this family. This is where this woman was doing it. And in her final hours, that's where she'll be buried. But I remember that when my mom died, my mom hated heat so much that when it came for her to be buried, we decided that we were going to bury her in front of our kitchen and not inside the kitchen. So these are conversations we ought to have with our children, with our loved ones, so that there's no misinterpretation. And if it is possible, go and mark your place. I know that for some people who want to be buried in the UK or in London, for example, have already bought their own plot. Buying your own plot doesn't mean you're going to die. Some people are so squeamish about talking about this thing that it's become ridiculous. So that's it. The final thing I'm going to talk about, which is something that I didn't really plan, and this happened to me, and it also happened to my last child. I don't know, I haven't really asked the other two, but it happened to myself and it happened to my last child. It was that when we buried my husband and we finished and we were coming back home, we were coming back to the UK where our lives are, the trauma of leaving him behind, I did not bargain for the trauma. I did not bargain for the overwhelming feeling of, you mean I'm now leaving this man behind? In fact, my son, my last child, broke down and came to me and said, "Mommy, do you realize we're leaving Daddy? Do you realize we brought Dad home and now he's the only one that is going to be left?" So when you're making these decisions, don't think it's just, oh, I want to be buried there, I want to be, no. And now, I cannot see myself. I buried my husband there. And already, my children are telling me, "Mommy, we need to go and see Dad." So these things are, you have to think about these things. Maybe because it just happened that we have that strong urge not to leave him alone there. So you have to think about these things. My son said, "Mom, I need to go and see Dad. I must see Dad. I must see Dad. I must see Dad." My big son is very strong with him. And for me, the thought of, I know that traditionally you're supposed to go 1 year after the person died to remove your white clothes and maybe do other Thanksgiving. But I've often thought about the thought of leaving him there. Sometimes when I'm in my moody time, I think about how he's just there, alone in the compound. But then suddenly I'll say, no, he's not alone. He's with his dad. He's with his last brother. And he's also with some young people that his youngest brother lost. So, and I think, no, he's in a very serene environment where he is. There's no noise there. He's going to be hearing the sound of the birds. And that's what it sounds ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous, but these are things you go through when you've lost your loved one. Because at this moment where I am now, I cannot think beyond never seeing him. I cannot think for me that a year would go by and I don't see him. And how long am I going to do that for? So these are decisions you have to make. These are things you have to think about when you're deciding where to bury your loved one, that there are things that come with it. So I'm going to stop now. Please, if you like this, like, share, and also subscribe. My name is Simone Ngozi Okolo, and I'm still on my journey of early widowhood. Bye-bye.